Turn that music up. I'm trying to go with like summer vibe music for the summer. So I've got some different things lined up if you enjoy the music that we start with. So I want to know from the very, very beginning, the very start of this, obviously we're here to talk about the death of the challenge and whether or not you should kill the idea of doing challenges. And what it comes down to is it's based on you, your needs, your buyer's needs, and what you're trying to achieve in your offer, what you're trying to sell. So for those of you that are with me live, and even if you are watching on the replay, you don't get off the hook on this. Where's my mouse? Have you ever done a challenge, or are you thinking about doing a challenge? Let me just know what we've got for those of you that are on. Here's what you've got to understand about challenges. Challenges are super powerful, but they can also be a lot of work. And if that work doesn't pay off, then it may not be the right strategy for you in your particular space. So that's what we're going to kind of unpack today inside this live. This is like the first one of a summer live series that I'm doing all summer long. Every week there will be a live. They're different days, different times, but it's all about this idea of events. So challenges, workshops, masterclasses. If you are somebody who loves to coach, to teach, and maybe these things haven't worked for you in the past. Maybe you've done a challenges or you're thinking about a challenge and you've done them in the past and they haven't worked. Why not? What's going on? And that's what we're going to explore all summer long. I can't wait. I'm so excited. Okay, let's see if we've got any comments. Where are my comments? Why can't I see my comments here? There, of course, they're not coming through. Okay, well, it's going to be one of those days. All right, Facebook, we'll have to use the phone. That's okay. All right, I see lots of people on. I've thought about it. I've done a couple. It's too daunting. Okay, all right. That gives me a good sense of where you all are all at. So, as I said, I am out of practice here using this. What you ultimately have to decide is if a challenge will work for you. Now, I know this whole live was called Death of the Challenge, and I'm not suggesting that you all need to kill the idea of a challenge. It will work for some people, for some offers, for some buyers. So this is really more of a decision point in you deciding whether it's going to work for you or not. All challenges are not bad, but they can be bad if it's a mismatch. Make sense? Okay, so for those of you that are new to me, we've had a lot of new people join this group. My name is Jamie Hain. I am a video and growth coach, and I have done every type of event that you can think about. I've done workshops, challenges, masterclasses, evergreen masterclasses, webinars,
you name it. And what I have found is that they each have something kind of unique and different. And when you don't have that matchup, when they don't line up with what you're promoting and who's ideal for that offer, then you end up in a situation where something doesn't convert. And you spend all of this time, energy, and effort to create this thing, and then it doesn't result in the sales that you wanted. And that's a bummer. So for those of you that have had challenges or events, even Facebook Lives, did they convert for you? Did you get calls booked? Did you get clients? Did you get sales? Just yes or no in the comments helps me kind of understand what has happened. Now, there are lots of reasons that might not have converted, and we're going to explore all of that all summer long. But the one that I want to talk about today is you might have this mismatch going on. If you have I'm going to use an example. If you have a high ticket buyer, if your offer is a high ticket offer, we're going to talk about what that means here in a second, and you offer a challenge, it's a mismatch. And it can go the other way as well. Okay. So how much is, and you don't have to put this in the chat if you don't want to. You can if you want, but I want you to at least write down a scratch paper or have it in your head. How much is your signature offer? Now, the question that always comes up here is, well, what's a signature offer? What do you mean by signature offer? The big one, the one where you make the most money, the one where you are wanting to really get people into that particular offer, whether it's one-on-one, whether it's group, whether it's a course, whatever else it is. It's your moneymaker. It's the one thing that has the biggest impact for your audience. How much is that? Is it a couple $100s? Is it even lower? Is it $27? Is it mid-range? $700? Is it thousands of dollars? $2,000, $10,000, $15,000? Offers can range. I mean, I have seen $100,000 offers. And I would imagine with some of the big gurus like Tony Robbins, you might spend $1 million to work one-on-one with Tony Robbins. So it can be extreme. Okay. I'm still not seeing comments on my screen, so I'm going to have to come in this way. Okay. All right. I'm just making sure there's nothing there. So let's talk about what the difference is. Okay. So typically a low ticket offer is under $500. Okay. Low ticket is under $500. Most of the time when we're thinking about low ticket, it's usually under $100 or it's in that range, but anything under that is considered low ticket. Okay. A mid-range is going to be between $500 and $1,500. And then high ticket is going to be anything over $2,000. Now, the argument could be made, like, what about in that middle there? Like, if it's $1,800, is it mid-range? Is it high ticket? There are some people that argue and say, no, high ticket is now anything over $2,500. What it really comes down to is how the buyer that's going to purchase these items is going to change and be different. Okay. So a challenge is really good for, which one do you think? Which one of these buyer types do you think a challenge works well with? And even if you're watching on the replay, you can still comment and participate here. Okay. Which price point do you think works well for a challenge? Minuscule. Hey, mini offers are a real thing, Amanda, right? I've purchased $7 things before. That's just low ticket. There's a range in there, right? Okay, so the question was, which one of these price points do you think is good for a challenge? There were a connection point, and we were going to connect in here. Which one's good for a challenge? Luanda says mid-ticket, okay. I'm seeing what else y'all got to say. It's probably better spent here. Now, will it work for mid-ticket? Yes, it will. But it's generally on the lower end. Let's talk about why that is the case. Okay? So, a challenge is great for these low-ticket offers. It is great for attracting new leads. So if your whole reason for doing your challenge is to get new audience members into your group or onto your email list, challenges work great for that. They work great for nurturing your audience. If you have an audience and you're wanting to bump them along, teach them something, help them get ready for where your offer is, challenges work great for this. They are typically great for newbies. Now, newbies is relative because it really depends on what your niche is. But because it's more budget friendly, these are not typically clients who are already successful in what they do. They're just starting out. They're just learning. And as a result of that, they don't have $2,000, $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 to spend. That doesn't mean never. This is generally, okay? But what you have to recognize here for challenges is they take a lot of time, energy, and effort. And the word that I really want to focus on there is time. Okay? So now let's talk about a high ticket buyer. What's going on with a high ticket buyer? So if I'm a high ticket buyer, that means that I regularly invest $2,000, $3,000, $4,000, $5,000, $10,000, $15,000 for programs, for training, for coaching. If I have that kind of money to invest, if I'm willing to invest at that level, how am I different than what we just described there at the low end? I'd love to know what you think. I got some ones I'm going to give to you, but I want to hear from you. What do you think is different about a high ticket buyer? The first one is that word time that we talked about on the last slide. Their time is limited. Because if they have that kind of money to invest, they are busy. They're busy running their businesses. They're busy coaching. They're busy doing whatever it is that they do in their business, which means they don't have time to participate in a 5-day challenge. That doesn't mean never, okay? So I know there's going to be somebody in here that's going to watch this video and go, I'm a high ticket buyer and I love challenges. You may be an exception. Because generally, if I've got that kind of money, I don't want to go through that much of a challenge. It's too much time. I don't have it. Okay? So what a high ticket buyer wants, they want clarity. They want to know that what you do is going to help me solve the problem I have. They want results. And they don't need a whole lot of nurturing to get there, which is typically what's happening in a challenge. They are willing to pay for the solution that's going to help them overcome whatever challenge they're facing with. And as a result of that, they will likely decide faster. So if this is your target, if you're targeting people that are spending this kind of money, do you see how the challenge is a mismatch? Okay, what questions do you have on this whole mismatch thing? Put them in the comments. I'm going to look at comments right now as I'm waiting for that. Okay. High ticket folks are busy, Stephanie says. Yes, that's exactly it. Yeah, and let's talk naming. There's a question in the comments about it. The reality is you can call any event anything you want. But the general rule is that when we think about a challenge, we are thinking about a multi-day event. It's a 3-day challenge, a 5-day challenge, a 30-day challenge. Doesn't always have to be in a row. It can be scattered. It could be over a month. There's all sorts of those kinds of different options in there with a challenge, okay? A workshop is typically a single event, although I have seen multi-day workshops, but it's typically longer. It's a 3, 4, 5 hour long workshop. I've seen 8-hour workshops, and that's really about getting work done, doing something in there, okay? A masterclass, which is where we're going to go next, a masterclass is typically shorter, 60, 90 minutes, maybe even less. Way less time. And well, let's just go there. Let's talk about a masterclass. Okay, hold on. All right, a masterclass is typically shorter. It's an hour or it's minutes versus days. It is typically high impact and results focused. Because you don't have as much time, it's not as involved as some of those other things, right? It builds trust quickly because you, as the creator of that masterclass, you've got to be on it and clear. Remember, those high ticket buyers, they want that clarity. And as a result of what you're building in the masterclass, you build that trust quickly. Remember, high ticket buyers want to make decisions fast. So this is an important piece of this, right? The name itself, this masterclass name, implies value and expertise. It's a master class. See the difference? And you can do master classes evergreen or live. There's no rule, you can do it any which way you want. So what I'm wanting you to understand is that these terms, masterclass, challenge, workshop, whatever you're going to call it, you can call your thing whatever you want. You can call it Fun with Jamie if you wanted to. But I'm wanting you to understand what most people assume is happening based on the name that you are picking. Okay. Now, the other thing that's really important here is that not all masterclasses are equal. And this usually causes some controversy, right? So you can have masterclasses inside a program, inside a course, inside a membership. It could be a free masterclass that you give people in your community. That's a masterclass that's designed for teaching. A masterclass that converts, that's being used as a marketing and a sales tool, is designed differently. If you are conducting a masterclass that is designed to teach and you're trying to use it to sell something, that's likely why it's not converting for you. Because what's happening is you're giving too much information that they're wanting to apply. And it's not that they aren't interested in buying from you. They're just not thinking about it because you've put them in learning mode instead of buying mode. See the difference? Okay. I skipped over some slides here and I wanted to cover this. Nope. We're good. Okay. I'm going to check comments here in a second here. But what you have to recognize, regardless of which type of event is right for you, that the right people don't need more time. They don't need more value. They don't need more content. What do they need? In order to make a decision on whether or not your offer or working with you is right, the longer your event is doesn't make it easier to sell. In fact, it's likely the opposite. So what do you think does work? All right, I'm going to check comments while you all are thinking about that question. Okay, so Amanda says mismatch, lots of work for nothing or very little work. Well, there are different levels of challenges, workshops, masterclasses. So you can create a masterclass that's not a whole lot of work for you, and that might get a result. But typically a challenge there's going to be a result that's going to be achieved at the end of that challenge. So what you got to think about is, does a high ticket buyer want that? They're willing to pay you for the thing that they need. So there's a perception that many of them have that the free stuff isn't going to get me what I want. So that can be a mismatch in and of itself. Okay. But what Amanda's asking is lots of work for nothing or very little work. I meant lots of work for nothing. So if you are doing a challenge and you're targeting a high ticket buyer, you're likely not converting. You're likely not selling. Hope that makes sense. Let me know if there's another question in there, Amanda. Okay. Oh, come on, phone. You're not cooperating with me. Okay. So the whole idea here is that it is about figuring out what's the right match point for you. What type of event works for you in terms of your time, energy, and effort? What type of event works for your client? Who are you targeting? What are they willing to spend? And how are they different from one another? How is a high ticket buyer different from a low ticket buyer? They have different needs, different wants. Okay. And then what works for your offer? How much is your offer also weighs into making this decision. Okay, what questions do you have about any of this? While you're thinking of those questions, I just want to kind of go through this summer series a little bit. Okay, so all summer long, I have a live every single week. There are different days, different times, all about this idea around challenges, workshop, masterclass. All of that can be found in the events in the Get Visible group. For those of you that are on my email list, you also got an email list with all of that. I will be sending out a link next week with every single event, so you can pick and choose the ones that you want to attend. All of that kind of comes around this live masterclass event that I'm going to be doing on July 14th. It's called Masterclasses That Sell. It's a 90-minute Zoom masterclass. We're going to do it live, workshop format. If you've not attended one of my masterclasses live before, there's lots of great stuff, lots of belief shifting. There is activities. It's not your boring slideshow. So if you want to entertain this whole idea of is a masterclass the right solution for me, my audience, my offer, I would love for you to register for this. So if you will drop the word masterclass in the comments, I'll make sure you have the link. I don't have it ready yet. I'm still doing a wait list, but I will get it out to you next week and get you registered. Okay. I am also, as part of this masterclass or summer series, I am inviting and opening up in my calendar masterclass magic calls. Everybody gets one. Okay, so you don't get one every single time I do a live. I don't have that kind of room in my calendar, unfortunately. I would love it, but I do not. What we're going to do in this masterclass magic call is we're going to explore whether or not a masterclass is the right solution for you, whether or not it would work for you, for your buyer, and for your offer. For those of you that have already done a masterclass or a challenge or a workshop, we can also take some time in that call and explore what went wrong. Why did it not convert at the level that you want it to convert in? Now, I will say this. Actually, let's do this. If you want the link to book a call, drop the word call in the comments and I'll get it over to you. But here's what I'm going to say. For those of you that are already working with me in some way, shape, or form, or if you've already had one of these calls with me in the past, I want you to DM me first before you book that call. Okay? Okay. Let me see if there are any questions, and then we will wrap up today. Well, I thought we were going to go to questions. There it goes. Okay. Okay, Amanda says, would high ticket buyers already have an idea they want to work with you? Not necessarily, but typically a high ticket buyer already knows they have a very specific problem that they need a solution to. They're usually more targeted, right? So but not always, but most of the time they're more targeted. If somebody is already making good money in their business, they don't need a beginner course. They're not looking to jump into something that gives them a lot of stuff that they don't need. They're typically more specific. You know what my problem is? My problem is I'm really struggling with this, or this is what I'm working on this next quarter, or this is what I need to work on this year. So they will seek out solutions to solve that problem. So that's what makes them more action focused, more results focused. That's why they make decisions faster, because they are more focused. Whereas somebody who is looking for something that's more low or mid ticket, they're looking for a broader answer. I'm just trying to grow my business, and so I'm wanting something that helps me grow my business. So they're looking for something that has a little more generalities to it versus a specific thing. Does that answer your question, Amanda? Okay, hope so. And by the way, while we're on challenges, remember, challenges is not just about sales. Remember that slide we had back here, right? If you're trying to grow your email list, if you're trying to get new people coming in, you may still have a high ticket offer, but you're constantly trying to get new people into your audience. And a challenge is a great way to do that. It's about being intentional about why you're doing a challenge and what you're trying to achieve. Okay? Okay. All right. Okay, she's good. All right, any other questions, drop them in the comments, whether you're with me live or you've got follow-up questions. If you're watching on the replay, drop the questions in the comment and I'll answer them. You can always message me and I'll respond to you there as well. Okay, so let's wrap up today. I'm not saying that this is the death of all challenges, that we should kill challenges and never do them again. I want you to be more intentional about whether or not you should do challenges, whether you should stop doing them. There's a sweet spot in figuring out, is this right for me, not right for me? It all comes down to what is your intention and your purpose behind doing it. If you're trying to get sales and your ticket price of your offer is high ticket, then the challenge is likely a mismatch and we need to do something like a masterclass instead. Make sense? So it's really about figuring out, is this the right kind of event for you, your offer, and your buyer? That's it. That's all we're trying to do here. And again, like I said, if your intention is not about selling something, but is about engaging or nurturing or building a list, then the challenge can just be great. But then you have to change your expectations of how you're going to measure the success of that challenge. Your intention is not to sell. Your intention is to grow your list or something else. Okay? So in my business, I have a little bit of all of that, but I'm intentional about what I'm trying to do. And that's really my last point here is oftentimes we as entrepreneurs and coaches, we sit back and we think, oh gosh, is this going to work for me? Should I do it? Should I not do it? I don't know. And the whole goal of this summer series is to take you from this point and take you to a point where you're like, I know what my plan is. I know exactly what I want to do, why I want to do it, who I'm targeting. And then we can talk about whether or not you want to work with me to be able to create and build masterclasses that convert. Make sense? All right. Thank you all for joining me here on a Saturday. I appreciate the flexibility. I just was not in a great space yesterday personally, and I didn't want to show up with energy that I didn't have. Today, I feel much better. So it's been great to spend some Saturday time with all of you. I hope you have a great rest of your weekend, and I'll talk to y'all soon. Bye, guys.